Hello and welcome to the latest episode of The Hex with Armand Kafai, John Arnold, and Daniel Robertson. Give us a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you have not yet. We have got World Cup qualifying to get into. We have got MLS Cup playoffs to get into, and everything has changed in MLS over the last week or so with some big new rules and everything. So lots to get into. Let's talk about it on The Hex. We're recording this at a little bit of a weird time for World Cup qualifiers on Monday night. If you're listening to this on Tuesday, plenty to get into here. If you're listening to this on Wednesday or Thursday, maybe fast forward to the next segment. But we're going to talk World Cup qualifiers, and the first round was fascinating. There's so many headlines to get into, John, so I just want to kick it to you first. What is your biggest headline from CONCACAF World Cup qualifiers first round?
Oh, you took my biggest one, so I'll say my second biggest one, which is we've got a fun Caribbean team that is going to qualify. Wow. And we could have sort of Dutch delight. So the Caribbean teams, you got Group B, Jamaica and Curacao are playing in Kingston on Tuesday. The winner of that game, if there is one, goes directly to the World Cup. If it's a draw, Curacao goes directly to the World Cup, and it's likely that the second place team will go to the playoff for the last two spots, or last two. They will go to the playoff in March.
Right, to play some sort of a minnow, likely.
Well, yeah, but then you have to advance probably and play, like the Congo just made it. The Bolivia, we could say, is probably a minnow. So I think that, Curacao is one of the smallest countries in contention. They would be the smallest country ever to qualify for the World Cup. I was able to go there in 2019 and report on what they were doing down there. And I think you kind of see how long it takes to put a project like this in action. Yes, Suriname is trying to qualify and may do it with sort of a quicker turnaround. But a lot of these guys from Curaçao's national team were born in the Netherlands, came up through those academies, were rejected by the Netherlands senior national team, or had a cup of coffee, or went to a camp, but now they've kind of formed up in a really fun atmosphere, and they're trying to get the country of often their parents, their grandparents, to the World Cup. I don't think most people know where Curacao is. I don't know, that most people understand what Curacao is. So the fact that you could really put your country on the map kind of in a very tangible way is pretty interesting. For Jamaica, it's this country that we've always talked about as the nearly team. They can recruit all these great players who play in the Premier League. They can bring in, they can rely on players that play in Jamaica that have come up, that, there's a good soccer scene there. So the fact that one of those teams is going to go, one of them likely will play on, I think is the biggest takeaway, other than the one that you're stealing.
Well, hey, I'm not stealing anything. I put it in the chat before anyone, so early bird gets the worm. And if we're talking,
the guy who makes the chat gets to put it in first. All right, go ahead.
All right. Well, hey, I'm not the one that has that writes to people. Thousands of people have already read a lot of you talking about this. So if Curacao and a lot of Caribbean countries are on their way up, for me, the biggest headline is a country that's on its way down, football speaking, and that's Costa Rica. Because, throughout the last 20 years, there's been kind of tiers to CONCACAF, and it's always been, USA, Mexico on this really high tier, always top tier. Canada, very wide swath. I'd say they're in the top tier now, but there were times where they were very low tier. But Costa Rica has always been right on their heels, 1C, right? And it says it in the qualifying, in the standings. They finished third off 3 points off the top in 2022, second in the group in 2018, second in 2014. They've qualified for 5 out of the last 6 World Cups. Now, they're not dead yet, and giants don't die easily, but they have got to beat Honduras at home on Tuesday night to even have a chance of qualifying. And even if they win that, they may not go through. They could go to a playoff. To me, this is not something that's you can't say that it's like out of nowhere either, because when you look at their roster, there are the old heads of Calvo and Kaylor, but I mean, we're still seeing Kendall Waston. Like, this guy was.
Yeah, but that wasn't happening, man. Like, Miguel Herrera, if Costa Rica doesn't make it, which I don't think they will, it's managerial malpractice from Miguel Herrera, and I mean for the people who hired him. Gustavo Alfaro had Costa Rica playing well, and then he left for Paraguay. Why? Because Costa Rica wouldn't pony up the money to keep him. Now, I think he wanted to go anyway, but he had the out clause in his contract. Paraguay pays it, and who's in the World Cup and playing these friendlies in the U.S., chilling, kicking up their heels, getting ready. Paraguay. And who is not going to make the World Cup? Costa Rica. So I think the fact that Miguel Herrera he convinced Keylor Navas to come back. Look, Keylor's Keylor, goalkeepers age in a different way. Then he called in Celso Borges.
Right.
And he called in Joel Campo, who actually is playing okay with Liga. Then he called Calvo is going to be there no matter what. Then he called in Kendall Waston. You got this old guard that Costa Rica has been trying to move away from for the last 5 years. They've really tried to foster this generational change for 5 years. And you kind of had some of the pieces, like Alonso Martinez is starting to emerge, Manfred Ugalde, Brandon Aguilera, attacking
Martinez
players.
Not anymore, but yeah.
Well, okay, but you don't think he's going to do his ACL? So look, to me, I'm not the guy who usually points the finger at the coach and yells fracaso, but if they don't make it, which I don't think they will, I think it's on Miguel Herrera.
He's heard that a few times, Armand. This is and Armand, this is a qualifying situation heading into Tuesday night. And maybe this, I apologize if I'm stealing your headline here, but not a single team has actually booked any place yet. There is no one, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I was looking, there is no one that actually can say for sure that they will even be, they could be in the World Cup or they could be, there's plenty of teams that are out, but there is no one yet that has even booked a spot in qualifying, in that qualifying playoff.
Right, exactly. And I'm kind of like what you guys are talking about with Group C. I'm looking at Group C as well. I mean, constantly I've been again kind of just catching up watching Haiti games, etc. I'm not sure why, but I've kind of grown an affinity to them and their situation as well too. Guys, they have a very interesting situation. Costa Rica is going to be gunning for the win against Honduras, right? They need to win that game to have even a shot to qualify as a 1 or as a 2. Haiti has to play Nicaragua. Now, Nicaragua is tricky, right? They beat Honduras 2-0 in their previous match. But Haiti,
it's a good spot.
I mean, you can say Haiti kind of has, they kind of control their own destiny.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what's your favorite Nicaragua away point in this round of qualification? They got none. So I think that you really say, hey, this team has kind of showed themselves in Nicaragua, in Managua. But what happened, Armand, when Haiti played in Managua?
Haiti won.
Haiti won 3-0. Easily. Haiti won 3-0. Haiti was up 1-0 in a driving rainstorm when the lights went out. The lights come back on. No one's moved a muscle. Everyone's still cheering for Nicaragua and against Haiti. And what do? They score again. Easy victory. So I think there's a lot of good vibes in the Haiti camp. And now all they got to do is win at a neutral site to probably play on.
Nothing on the line for USA or Mexico, but quite a bit, potentially different vibe. Nothing officially on the line.
What about pride?
Plenty of pride on the line for the USA and Mexico. We're going to get a vibe check now. We're going to start off in the Northeast with the U.S., who in Chester, Pennsylvania, which will have another big game this weekend, they got a 2-1 win over Paraguay. I'm going to let you take it, Armand. What is the vibe check right now for the United States, and what are we feeling?
It's crazy because, we were on the show, 2 months ago, being like, Pochettino, what the hell are you doing? And now, ever since you switched formation to this back three, it seems like the vibes are a lot better. And you say what you want about Gio Reyna, right? He's a very polarizing player when it comes to the U.S. men's national team pool. I feel like a lot of people hate him and love him. I don't think he does himself any favors as well. And I don't think his dad did as well either, right? That's the whole kind of conundrum. But I really like this performance and what he did on Saturday, guys. I really like the goal he scored. I like how he was involved in the play. And I like how Mauricio Pochettino is helping build this guy's confidence back up. We know Gio Reyna is a very talented player. And Pochettino even said after the match, hey, he should be playing for his club more. Look what he did with the national team. I like that he does this with some of the players. I think the vibe of the U.S. is really good right now. I think that it's a lot better than what it was 2 months ago. They beat Paraguay, who's in the World Cup and did pretty well in South American qualifying. It seems like they're a lot better than what's going on in Mexico, John. I don't know about you, but from what I see in Mexico and what I saw in with some of the comments being made, the vibes don't seem really great over there.
Yeah, well, I think the vibes in Mexico are kind of poor because, look, no matter what we want to say, how much we want to analyze, soccer is about results. And Mexico's last win was over the U.S. in the Gold Cup final.
Long time
ago. They drew both their September friendlies. They lost that game against Colombia, which was like a kind of shattering defeat. Then they drew that next game against Ecuador. Okay, we're back. And then they drew against Uruguay, scoreless game. I think that Mexico manager Javier Aguirre knows who his center back pairing is. Johan Vasquez and Cesar Montes. I think he knows who his central midfielder is, Edson Alvarez. And I think he knows he's probably going to have to start Raul Jimenez as his 9. And I don't think he knows that much after that. For a long time, we were looking at this Mexico team as very settled. And now, maybe, okay, you could say Jesus Gallardo left back, but he's not a star necessarily. Marcel Ruiz as the two-way midfielder, but that's a relatively new addition. I would say he's somewhat unproven at the international level. And then to kind of make things worse, Aguirre in Torreon, where Santos Laguna plays their home game, starts the Chivas goalkeeper, even though he called up the Santos Laguna goalkeeper. Now, Daniel, yes, repping Chivas today. I know you're a Tyler Rangel head. But Carlos Acevedo, look, if you're going to call him in and you're going to give someone else that's not Luis Angel Malagon, your presumptive number 1, a shot, it's odd that you didn't start Acevedo. However, does that mean that the Mexico fans in Torreon, which doesn't really receive many Mexico national team games, should be yelling things and booing things and yelling the P word at him? No, and you could tell Raul Jimenez as a leader of the team, when he does the post-match flash interview on TV, he brings it up and says, oh, maybe this is why we play in the U.S. more. Now, we know that's because of economic reasons, Daniel, but the fact that fans in this place that doesn't get Mexico very often feels this type of way against, I think, the manager. I don't know that it's personal against the player, but against kind of the team and what the team represents off the field, I think kind of gives you that indication that, look, yeah, Mexico's playing a home World Cup, but is everybody going to be pulling in the same direction in 7 months?
Well, Mexico doesn't get Mexico very often. Like, forget the city. Like, the country doesn't get Mexico very often.
The thing is
more recently, but
when Mexico plays in Mexico, they play at the Azteca. They can't play at the Azteca right now, so you're getting this kind of tour, which is rare. Because a lot of times it's sponsorship interest. You have to have X number of games at this stadium, X number of games. And like there are pushbacks against, let's say that, there's 2 giant beer companies in Mexico. Well, if this stadium sells one type of beer and it's not the official beer of the national team, they're not going to go. So you get some of these different weird circumstances. But Mexico has had a chance to kind of do a little bit of a tour. They've played in Puebla. They've done multiple matches in Guadalajara. This game in Torreon. I think they'll probably play, they'll reopen the Azteca, I think, against Portugal in March. But overall, like, you have Mexico trying to win over its fans in a lot of ways, or make the fans fall back in love with the national team, and the vibes are not there.
Well, and going back to the U.S. for a second. Sorry, Armand, did you?
No, what I was going to say, which is the opposite of the U.S., because I think the U.S. is winning back their fans with their.
The crowd looks good. Yeah, I mean, the crowd looked really good. And where is the game on?
Tampa,
okay, Tampa against Uruguay. So that's going to be a big crowd. Probably maybe 50.
For Uruguay.
We'll see.
Okay, now hold on. Uruguay does not have that many people, much less people in Florida.
75-25. We'll take that. But, I was going to mention real quick on the U.S. side, getting back to that for a minute, Armand, you mentioned the formation change. And for me, the one big thing that stuck out, besides Gio Reyna, that makes me so happy and gives me so much confidence going forward is Sergiño Dest. Because for me, this is the X factor guy. You can replace Reyna. You can replace a lot of guys. I think we have many years of data to show when Sergiño Dest is playing at his best, and especially in this 3-5-2 where you have to have, so much pressure is placed on those outside backs. And when you look at, Oklahoma was playing Alabama during the U.S. game, so I didn't watch the game live. Oh, of course I was watching.
Hey, John, of course, he has to mention OU.
Had to get an OU mention in. But when you look at the stats, the top 2 numbers for touches are Max Arfston on one side, Sergiño Dest on the other side. And there's so much pressure placed on those positions, and Dest had the second most touches in the box. He didn't have an assist, but you see him all over the highlights. And this is a guy who is playing a key role on PSV, who is the best team in the Eredivisie, leading them. And if he can just stay healthy, I think the USA ceiling goes so much higher if you have a good Sergiño Dest, John.
I agree with you. I think Dest and Robinson are interesting, but something also that shouldn't escape attention is that we, a month ago, were saying what a shock it was to see Christian Roldan, who's now started 3 matches for the U.S., has made them better in every match and hasn't looked at all out of place. So, I still wouldn't necessarily say that his spot on the roster is secure, but it seems like Pochettino likes what he's doing, and it seems that every time he comes to the national team, he's proving himself.
And the midfield, John, to your point, with Roldan, I thought Tanner Tessman looked really good as well, too, in those minutes. And I think Pochettino's going to have a little bit harder, a decision to figure out who's going to be his midfield pairing. In the middle, obviously, you have Tyler Adams that's going to come back. Weston, where you're going to put him, etc. But these guys are making it more difficult for Pochettino than, oh, you're going to start default guys. Like, we knew who was going to start in 2022, it felt like.
But you know who else is going to make it more difficult on Pochettino in the U.S. is Uruguay. They're just a better team than Paraguay, so it's a good test, and we'll see what we learn from Tuesday's match.
Shifting to MLS, we'll talk about the playoffs in a minute. But first, maybe the biggest, I'm going to call it the biggest MLS competition-related news since the designated player was announced by MLS all the way back, 2007. The MLS calendar is changing. We are getting rid of the, spring to winter schedule, the playoffs. If you like it in the cold weather, well, I'm sorry, folks. You got this year, next year, it's over. MLS is going to be starting their seasons in summer 2026. Summer 2027. Mid-July start. They'll take a winter break in December to mid-February, and then the playoffs will be in May. The release says that MLS Cup will be played in May as well. So probably looking at, and I was thinking about it, and I was thinking, oh, well, that's going to make the playoffs be much quicker. But then I realized one big plus to this is there's not going to be a 2-week break in the middle of the playoffs. So you can get the playoffs done in a month, which is how it should always be. John, biggest competition-related news since the designated player?
Since Lionel Messi arrived, man. I mean,
that's not competition-related. I wanted to say
I think it's competition-related.
But okay.
Okay, the designated player is player acquisition-related.
It's on the Mount Rushmore of MLS competition-related.
What a boring statue that is. No, I think it's, since Messi arrived or since, Messi arrived and kicks off League's Cup.
Yes.
Is that competition enough? I think, these alliances, but, people are like, oh, maybe this means the League's Cup will go, the way of the dodo. And to me, it's like, and I've seen people say as well, the MLS is saying the calendar aligns with the world's best leagues, but they're just meaning Europe. But they align with Mexico now, too. You say, hey, this is where, MLS Cup will be played in May. That's when Mexico's season ends. They're not going to have 2 tournaments, so it's not the same format as Mexico, but you're going to be playing around the same time. This excuse always of, CONCACAF Champions Cup, MLS teams are, whatever. Right. Yes, they'll be coming out of the winter break, but I think that puts them kind of at the same competition pace as Liga MX. I don't feel like a lot of people have talked about that because I think a lot of people who wanted to be frustrated are either just big-time MLS focused hardcore fans, or they already watch the Premier League, La Liga, etc. So to me, I think since Messi arrived, or if you're going to say that doesn't count, League's Cup, Armand.
Well, and I think too, John, I think that winter break is going to be a lot. We think of it like that. It's not going to be as big of a deal as the summer break in terms of like players unplugging, going away from their teams. I think it's going to be kind of more like Germany or more like the breaks we see in Europe where, okay, players may take a couple of weeks off, but there's going to be some friendlies, at least in the warmer cities in January. And I think it is going to help with CONCACAF Champions Cup a lot. I don't think it's going to be anything like coming out of the off-season break, Armand.
Just put League's Cup in there.
Sure.
They're not winter break. Figure out a way to put League's Cup in there in the warmer climates. I think that works totally fine. And that kind of cuts down your break, right? It cuts down your break a little bit, allows the players kind of reacclimate into fitness, etc. I mean, this is as big of a move as MLS could want, right? I mean, the flurry of moves that MLS made in that last Board of Governors meeting has been absolutely immense for the league. I would probably say I would probably agree with you, Daniel, since the designated player rule is the biggest. It's the biggest move, and it's for a number of reasons. I mean, first off, you hear all this complaining, man.
Yeah, you are fired up.
Because these are the same people that I'd be like, wow, it's 40 degrees. I'm cold. And these people are like, oh, what do you mean that's cold? I'm here. It's like 5 degrees in shorts. And you're like, why? Why is this a thing? Look, why is this a thing? Why are you telling me I'm cold? Let me be cold. Why is it a competition to be who's colder? But when it comes down to this move, the transfer markets aligning are massive. What did we see this summer? Who came in during the summer for LAFC? Heung-min Son. Imagine if you get a full season of Heung-min Son in there. Imagine if during the most active window in all of soccer, your players are actually coming in, being able to acclimate with the potential preseason and join the team, or have longer to acclimate if they get added on later.
I think the departures are more significant, right?
And exactly. Yeah. We saw it with Tony Olashey with Minnesota United, right? There was a moment where Minnesota United could have lost Joaquin Pereira and Tony Olashey at the same time. They only lost Olashey but even Minnesota's sporting director came out and said that made our lives a lot difficult, and we had to rush to find a replacement. Guys, this is a home run across many fronts. No longer, Daniel, do we have to talk about, oh, how's MLS going to compete against the SEC championship? Football is king.
I mean, OU's not going to be in that, though.
Yeah, that's
Well,
true.
I mean,
Probably no one will watch it.
Yeah.
Well,
So, but like football is king, and you don't have to compete against that. You don't have the international break anymore. You actually have a schedule. I think that now makes sense with also the shift to the single table as well too with the divisions. All these moves are making sense. The only thing that sucks is it's not being made this year.
Do you
with
think
an actual proper break in there?
Do you think that it's much ado about nothing to say that, oh, well, this is really tough on the teams that play up north and in kind of more winter weather?
No, because that is definitely going to be tough. I mean, look at Montreal, right? They're going to have to put in the big O because their field doesn't have they don't have a heated field, which
that's kind of
guess. I mean, that's kind of crazy to be honest. Like when you think about it, but some of these other teams, one thing I was surprised by was they didn't get the concessions from the warmer climate teams to help winterize the northern teams.
To build bubbles and make the facilities,
I thought that was
better.
A given. Japan, that was a given in that situation. I thought that was going to be there, but it's not. I think it's going to be a little bit of a problem, but I think the league is going to be smart about how they schedule the games. I mean, Nelson Rodriguez came out and he said, hey, we're not going to do more than 3 away, 3 home games in a row. I think they'll figure out a way to do it. I think there's not going to be that much of cold weather games, and I think when you look at all the complaining, it's just, and John, I think we talked about over text.
It's not going to come out. I don't think once it comes out in the wash, I don't think it's going to be that much.
It's not going to matter, but it's all based on experiences, right? Us in kind of the warmer summer months, we hate watching soccer in the heat. It's terrible. And the players suffer from a performance perspective. I don't think I've seen a little bit of data, but not like as much to make a full on like, oh, for sure. Heat does affect players. We know that. That's a fact. Whatever. Cold, I'm not sure it's as big of an effect, John. And I think that's also going to improve the quality of play, especially when you actually have the players during you actually have the players in the summer. You don't have half the players because they're gone.
Yeah. I think it's like, you asked, isn't much ado about nothing, Daniel. And I don't think we should dismiss the concerns of market, fans in markets like Minnesota, Montreal, Toronto. It's not just a big country, it's a big 2 countries. MLS is unique in that perspective, in that way. There's, not that many other countries that have leagues geographically as big and as diverse of climates as MLS. And I think there are trade-offs for both. To me, the trade-offs to changing the schedule or the calendar outweigh what you're going to do if you stick with the current, just maintain inertia. But I don't think we should dismiss those changes. Armand, it's really interesting the point you make about concessions. And I wonder if in some ways this is signaling, and maybe some of the other changes that we'll talk about in just a second, is signaling more owners, or the owners that are from sort of the block, that say, let's grow up. Let's spend some money. Let's make this league actually compete with this goal that we said we were going to have to be one of the best leagues in the world, a league of choice, all the different phrases that have been used over the last 2 decades. I wonder if those owners are starting to kind of, win out. And look, a lot of those owners are in the South. A lot of those owners are in warm weather teams. But I think even like we were saying, Minnesota United is an example of a team that lost a key piece. And look, they're fine. They're in the conference semifinals, as we'll get to. But yeah, I don't think we should dismiss the concerns. I think there are real trade-offs. But to me, it is a situation where not everyone can get their way, can win, essentially, can always have the perfect weather, can always have the perfect scenario, can always make the most of their market, the most money maybe from home fans in their market. Look, if you're Houston, if you're Dallas, if you're Miami, you're drawing is going to be easier than it was in the previous calendar.
But if you win the speed tournament in 2027, you get to raise a banner. This flew under the radar a little bit because it came with the calendar change, but MLS announced huge changes to the Apple TV deal also. So here are the changes. MLS and Apple TV deal, the current deal will now end after the 2029 season, which is 3 years earlier than 2032. MLS is going to get $275 million for the 2027-28 and 2028-29 seasons, which is more than they would have gotten previously. They are going to get extra money for that sprint campaign I just mentioned in 2027. But And Apple cannot terminate the deal now. Before, they had an option to terminate the deal after the 2027 season. So this locks Apple in to MLS and Apple together through the 2029 season, but it does end it 3 years early. And then also, the revised deal allows MLS the ability, I didn't realize this, they can still give some games to linear partners. That was going to expire after next season, where all of the games were going to be on Apple. That is not the case anymore. And finally, MLS games are now moving off of the paid standalone MLS Season Pass and will just be on the regular Apple TV streaming service, which actually is adding Formula One next year as well. John, this seems win-win-win-win all around. That doesn't make for great podcast content, but am I right or wrong on that?
I think we've always said that like MLS's Apple deal will be seen as a success if they look like pioneers. You know, if in 7 years we look back and we say, wow, now all the sports leagues are doing essentially what MLS did. I think when you're the guinea pig, sometimes you grow some weird tumors. I think sometimes things go a little odd when you are the first one to jump, right? You learn things, you adjust, you make changes, and this is, to me, what's happening. I think some people have said, oh, this shows the Apple deal is a failure, and blah, blah, blah. I think some people have said, hey, this shows it's a big success. I don't know that it's either. I think the F1 coming aboard is huge. Because when they announced that deal and said we're not going to be behind a second paywall functionally, I think it was pretty clear, why should MLS be this sort of like, the ultra premium product, whereas F1 uses its marketing as we are the sexy Monte Carlo, etc. sport. So I think it makes a ton of sense. It's definitely a win that it's not harder to get. And I think just having F1 and like F1, I think, you know, I know you can do the Venn diagrams in your real job, but like the public information we have is just that, yeah, it seems like F1 and MLS are sports where, or F1 and soccer for sure. If you're more internationally minded, if political leaning a little bit to the left, like it's more likely that you are going to be both MLS and F1 fan. Maybe other types of racing appeal to you if you're into some other stuff. So I think that there's just
donor, maybe not a political donor though. That might go the other way.
But I think yes. Overall, I think it's just it's going to make things easier, and it's much more likely that new fans are won now that the thing has changed.
Yeah, Armand. I mean, obviously, you're watching it every week. It gets easier.
It gets significantly easier, and also I think this is again kind of part of the whole schedule change thing, right? I think Apple kind of wants to see, hey, what's going on, right? Like, what are these two seasons going to be like? Like, is this going to like work, not work, etc.? So I think that's one aspect, like a small aspect of it. But John, like you said, my initial reaction was, man, maybe this is an admission that MLS is just, this is not working, right? Like, this doesn't make sense. But if you look across the deals, the terms, they're very favorable to MLS, right? MLS gets back into the open market before the 2030 World Cup, right? That's a big thing. They also get more money from Apple, and they also still have Apple in there. And Daniel, the point about the linear programming, we saw what the NBA is doing, right? Kind of this mix and match with, we're going to be a little bit more on like OTA, like with NBC and like ABC, and have your default ESPN, but also have Amazon Prime as well too. And I think the NBA is like, I don't want to be like ratings talk, but I think NBA ratings have been a lot higher recently with that combination.
The other thing real quick, Daniel, before we get your thoughts and move on, I think like the YouTube TV ESPN beef and the fact that the TUDN and YouTube TV beef is still going, I think shows that like when you put it all under one umbrella, your hardcores are going to be served, even if a partner leaves or a streaming service. You know, like college football before this past weekend for 2 weeks was like impossible to really consume unless your game was on Fox. And I think like the fact that MLS could say, doesn't matter what happens, hell or high water, we're going to be on this streaming service. It might be a big win in 2-3 years as these companies continue to try and carve out their little piece of the iceberg.
That's why I said it's a win-win-win for every side, because Armand, it's like you said. So MLS now, everyone gets to see, how does this fall-spring schedule works? If you're MLS and it works gangbusters, guess what? You don't have 3 extra years that maybe you undersold your product. If it sucks and you're Apple, you say, okay, this isn't working, we're out. And if you're MLS, I think your point about 2030 is very well taken of, okay, now we can wrap our deal around that too. And if it all works out great, I don't think Apple's going to have any problem ponying up the money to continue MLS. So I think every side, it didn't make sense to do the deal for this far out anymore for any side. MLS got more money out of it. Apple got more flexibility out of it. And yeah, I think it's great. And yeah, I'm excited too to not have to pay this extra price and that co-marketing between Formula One. I mean, are we going to see like a ceremonial first kick of Charles Leclerc out at Toyota Stadium when it opens, when it reopens in 2028? I'd love it.
I think you're more likely to see Charles Leclerc at Miami's opening stadium.
So who does FC Dallas get?
No one.
Dude, honestly, though, the Audi team, the new, like,
Good point.
the Audi drives goals MLS partnership.
All right, real quick, guys, we got to get into the games on the field because the Western Conference semifinals this weekend. No, we don't want to talk about that. We just want to talk about
soccer,
stuff off the field. Saturday night, Vancouver, LAFC from BC Place at 8:30 p.m. Central. Monday night, San Diego hosting Minnesota at 9 p.m. Central. Armand, I want one key, not to each game, but what is just, pick a game. What is your biggest key to one of the Western Conference semifinals?
Well, I mean, this key, I think, actually encompasses both.
Show off.
I try my best. And
what's a master key?
Yeah.
The key to the city.
I'm a locksmith, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's limit transitions. If you're Vancouver, right, you're playing LAFC. Look, you do so well dominating the ball, and when Vancouver dominates and controls the pace of the game, it's hard for anyone to beat them. But who does LAFC have on the other side to beat them? You have Son and Mbongo. How many times we mentioned and seen their goals in transition? Son makes transition goals look easy. Like legitimately, they just makes them look insanely easy. On the flip side, the other matchup that we're talking about with Minnesota and San Diego, that's what Minnesota's game plan is built around, smashing teams in transition. This game, San Diego and Minnesota, the more I think about it, the more I'm just so intrigued by it, because I know you think it's gonna be a belt to ass, but think about it. San Diego's a team that builds in the back and doesn't have that much experience. They have 34 games doing it. That's not that much in the grand scheme of things. They're prone to turnovers. They're prone to mistakes.
That's a bad point.
They're prone to turnovers. They're prone to mistakes. They've made mistakes. They're prone to making mistakes from building on the back. What does Minnesota do the best? Force mistakes, force turnovers, press you, and get in transition. I mean, it's going to be a weird Monday night soccer game to watch. Like, and also the weird 2-day break.
Yeah. Dude, I think a lot of times, like, we've been harsh on Minnesota fans on this show with the calendar switch and, the style of play stuff. They're getting totally screwed by this calendar.
100%.
9 p.m. Monday night kickoff for a one-off game?
And it's the third straight time they've put on Monday night. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, the Seattle series was terribly scheduled for them, too. My key is around that, and it's health as well. Because Chucky Lozano left that Mexico match against Uruguay with a hamstring injury. He's not going to play in the second game against Paraguay in San Antonio. And now he has 7 days to get healthy. Now, I think San Diego fans will say, well, we haven't really needed Chucky. But this is the kind of game where I think you do need him. Armand's telling us transitions matter. You don't want turnovers. Yeah, Chucky can usually keep the ball. I think also, like, I probably should have done a better preparation before this point, but like CJ Dos Santos, is he back? I don't know. I haven't seen anything. My bad if it's already been out there, but the fact that you could be missing some key players, I think for San Diego, a team that, according to Armand, is totally inexperienced, but legitimately is trying to win for the first time. I think that's important, and the fact that they get a little extra time is pretty key.
I don't want to hold, I don't think, John, we can hold you two accountable for this because finding any injury information right now is incredibly difficult from every team. I have no idea because Vancouver has as many questions as anyone. I mean, obviously, like, Blackman's going to be healthy and play, but like Brian White, what's his status? My key, though, because I don't even want to talk about the San Diego-Minnesota game. It's going to be belt to ass. San Diego's going to win by 3 or 4 goals. I got to talk about Vancouver LAFC, game of the season in MLS so far. Can Vancouver remain patient? This is just what they have to do. And Armand, we talked about on the show a couple weeks ago, Nico Estevez said they were too naive and amped up at home when they were playing LAFC and they gave up those counterattacks. Obviously, you already mentioned that. But if Vancouver can remain patient, can say, hey, if it's 0-0 at the 70th minute, We feel confident in our chances in the last 20 minutes to win the game, and we're fine with 0-0 going into the last 20 minutes. I think Vancouver's going to win this game. They need to get set pieces, Berhalter and Thomas Muller over the set pieces in dangerous areas. It's not going to make for a great game. I think that we might see a little bit of a, both
not call it the game of the year.
I mean, like aesthetically, it may not be as offensively free flowing of a game as we would like for it to be. Guys, real quick predictions. Western Conference, I got Vancouver and San Diego. Armand?
LAFC San Diego.
John?
I wasn't told this would be on the test. I will also snap pick LAFC and San Diego.
Wrapping it up, Eastern Conference will be all Sunday evening. FC Cincinnati hosting Miami at 4 p.m. Central. Philadelphia hosting NYCFC 6:45 p.m. Central on Sunday. John, two great games. What's one key for this?
Backstops.
Okay.
Matt Freese versus Andre Blake, or I guess vice versa. Matt Freese actually started a playoff game for Andre Blake the year right before he left Philadelphia.
Is that the COVID
But anyway,
one?
it's yes.
Yes.
I think. It's two great national team goalkeepers going up against each other. Obviously, we know how important both were during the previous series. I think in the other game as well, you have an established in Santano. You have this established keeper who's been very good versus Inter Miami. So what's going to happen there? I think the backstops is important to me.
This is bad research on my part.
Nice.
Did the games go to extra time if it's tied? Okay, so there is 30 minutes of extra
bad
time.
research on.
All right, good.
Celentano. I butchered his name. I don't know why.
Good. For me, I'm looking at the Philadelphia. I think FC Cincinnati Miami game. Okay, the keys are kind of obvious. Like stop the number 10. So for me, it's all about Philadelphia and can they score first? Because this is an NYCFC team. Alonso Martinez tore his ACL. Sadly, he's out. They're kind of one-dimensional in attack now with Nico from Spain. My key is for Philadelphia score first. If they score first, NYCFC does not have. The longer that game stays 0-0, the more nervous Philadelphia is going to be because I would argue they're under the most pressure of any team out here. You won the Supporter Shield. You should go win this game. If they can score first, it could go downhill really, really quick. So that's my biggest key, Armand.
And Philadelphia are favorites, right? Like now with this injury with Martinez.
Biggest favorites of any game, I think.
With Pereira shattering his leg. These injuries are kind of piling up for NYCFC. And if you're Philadelphia, it's like you can't, I guess you can psychologically be like, oh, we're the underdogs. You can't do this anymore. You're the clear-cut favorite, and you should be pushing kind of for a matchup with, I think, Miami. Sure. But I think the key in that Cincinnati-Miami game is Cincinnati has to dictate the pace of the game. It cannot be Miami. Miami cannot be the team that's dominating. They can dominate possession, but if you dictate the pace of the game, Cincinnati can have a shot with Evander. We've seen Evander do crazy things. Kevin Denke as well too. Brenner. I mean, we can go down and listen to their attack. Their attack has dynamic players. But again, if Miami's controlling how the game is being played, if it's a little bit slower pace, if again, like I think I mentioned it last show, if Busquets isn't a traffic cone.
That's exactly what I was going to say. If Cincinnati controls the pace, they're going to force Busquets into potentially more mistakes. And that, to me, if only one key, but forcing Busquets into those mistakes, John. I mean that's their recipe for success, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. And backstops. Don't forget backstops is the key.
All right. So which backstops are going to come out victorious?
I think it's going to be Philly, Inter Miami, but I'll Lee Corso tribute it and say that Cincy Miami game closer than the experts think.
I'm going, Andre Blake and Oscar Ustari.
Not Oscar Ustari.
Rocco's Novo, no?
Real Rocco's Novo.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm still going to take.
I think it's honestly better.
I'm still going to take Philadelphia and Miami, Armand.
I feel like every time I bet against Messi, it never works. Yeah. So
you think he takes it personally?
Yes, I think he personally does. So, and also one of the listeners on this pod said that I have the opinions of my pet dog. Because
right.
Wow. I said I'd rather have Son than Messi. So
Cody
I'm gonna go.
Serious.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Miami and Philadelphia. I think it's the matchup that, man, if that's the matchup, there's just so many interesting storylines that pick apart in that, from Philadelphia's renaissance to.
Let's get there first.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited, but Philly has such a cakewalk to the Eastern Conference Finals. If they lose that game against NYCFC, question.
When you're the number one seed, you get the easiest games. That's why they play the regular season.
But the injuries falling in their favor too is pretty.
All right. One injury in one game, but
you think it's conspiracy? You think Carnell slipped Miguel Herrera a $5 to play Alonso Martinez on the Curacao pitch for 90 minutes?
His MLS Coach of the Year bonus money went.
He also has a player on Haiti, so I don't know why he would be like, bad pitch.
Do that.
He's flush with cash from his MLS Coach of the Year bonus check, so he's been spreading it around. Well,
he's going straight to Miguel Herrera, boys.
Well, that'll wrap us up for the Hex this week. We will see who advances to the conference finals. Thank you for listening.